12:30, we're starting. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one. Namo saranto suchedoye olahudi sanmiao sanputoshe.
Namo saranto suchedoye olahudi sanmiao sanputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dharma friends, hi there. My name is Heng Shi. I'm delighted to be with you again on a Sunday afternoon here in Queensland, Australia, on a Saturday evening in Berkeley, California, and other different times around the planet. We're going to be looking into the Flower Garland Sutra, the 10 Stages chapter, and in order to get us going, let's see, we're going to come back to page, not 48, we're going to come back to, let's see here. Yes, come back to page 48 and 49. For now, we're going to chant together this invocation. It's a request. We're going to ask the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly to draw near this monastery here in the Gold Coast, and your monastery, which is wherever you're sitting, with that sincere intent to look into the magic mirror of the Flower Garland Sutra and discover whatever wisdom and insights are waiting for us, right? So the first Bodhimanda, the first way place, the first pure field of cultivation was under the Bodhi tree when the Buddha awoke. But by extension, it's the mind. Wherever we purify it and turn it towards the sutra and its wisdom, that's perfectly fine. That's where the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas show up to bless us and to help illuminate these principles. All right?
Namo Tha Quang Pho Guanshi Guanyin Hai Bo Sa Namo Guanshi Guanyin Hai Bo Sa
That from the Dharma Wheel Banjo. Back to page 48 in our text. How lucky we are to have these beautiful multi-language manuscripts to work from, just right here under our fingers. Okay. To get the feel of where we are, because this is a sequential text, we pick up where we left off, and it's a very, very long sutra. This is called the Flower Garland Sutra, Huayin Jing, and we're in a chapter called the 10 Stages, the 10 Grounds, 10 Stages, and it's a long chapter inside of a long sutra. And we have come almost to the end of it. Out of 10, we're on number 10. And after we go a little further, not much further, in the prose part, then we have the verses, the repetitive verses part. So we don't have much of the 10 Stages chapter to go, but we're at the penultimate. The crowning glory of the 10 Stages is the 10th stage. The Bodhisattva here, our hero, our paradigmatic, our exemplar, our model, is not far from Buddhahood. And when I first started along the Buddha's path back in Toledo, Ohio, reading Zen books, 3 Pillars of Zen, Philip Kapleau Roshi, and The Way of Zen, Alan Watts, Zen Flesh, Zen Bones, Paul Reps, that was what there was. That was the literature of Buddhism. And I had just come out of high school and was interested in the Chinese/Japanese Chan Zen. And the idea of Buddha was so far away. It was just a name, kind of like it was as far away as God was as far away from a young Christian, unless you're born again, in which God is right there talking to you, or Jesus. The Buddha was far away. I didn't have any concept, no picture of the Buddha. I hadn't seen one. I didn't know a Buddhist, actually. I was going kind of from inner inspiration. And what appealed to me was meditation, right? Samadhi. Although the Japanese tradition didn't use that word as much. They used kensho and satori for enlightenment. That was what appealed to me. Those words sound so exotic, and I wanted them. So my point in prefacing today's text is to say it took me a long time in Buddhist monasteries and many hours of meditation and many texts and many lectures by a Buddhist Master VM Hua, to actually start to come to grips with the Buddha. Who could the Buddha be? And what is my relationship to him? Is there one? Why do I need to relate to the Buddha? And when I do, how do I envision him? Right? Her, it. And sure enough, the Avatamsaka Sutra turns out to be a reliable guide. It's a safe, secure, clearly marked, well-lit map to Buddhahood through, got a bug here, through the Bodhisattva path. Sign language, Buddha. There we go. Bad time for a bug to land. Okay, so we look at the Bodhisattva path. Sorry, folks. And take it every step of the way as the Avatamsaka lines it out. And we approach Buddhahood. And it's interesting because for a Buddhist sutra, the Avatamsaka is remarkably Buddha-free. It's Bodhisattva heavy, but Buddha light, right? The Buddha does definitely appear, but only somehow as a support person, he's the... It's as if the Buddha is the chancellor of the university, but the bodhisattvas have the keys to the library and the classrooms. And your instructors are bodhisattvas. You know that the Buddha is always in his office meditating deeply in samadhi, but in the Avatamsaka Sutra, that is, the work is done by the bodhisattvas. In the instruction, the teaching is done by the bodhisattvas. So that's kind of where we are. And we're at the graduate seminar. This bodhisattva is about to come out with his degree, his Buddhahood sheepskin, his vegan sheepskin, his diploma. So that's where we are. And what has just happened in our 10th stage is something quite remarkable. Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva, our teacher, our speaker, our instructor, has been lining out, explaining, illustrating what a 10th stage Bodhisattva can do now that she has uncovered that bit of ignorance that previously overlay that part of the mind, the awakened mind, and doesn't anymore. No more. That light now shines. And when it does, the Bodhisattva can function in ways that were inaccessible before. He now can do these things that he couldn't do before. Okay, I'll just use he because it's shorter. If you want to use she, it's fine. The Bodhisattva can now accomplish amazing feats of teaching and skill and eloquence and dharani and samadhi as never before. So, the last section that we heard a lot about was the shantong, the psychic abilities, the magical, seemingly magic, but not, still completely within cause and effect. There is a cause for these abilities, right? It's just that it's in a realm that our senses are too dull to perceive. So, the Bodhisattva can now make appear 神通妙用, right? 特异功能, these amazing abilities. And he explained them, and the assembly gathered together simultaneously, spontaneously, have a doubt. And their doubt is, wow, if it's the way you say, Vajra Treasury, and the Bodhisattva can do all these things, what about the Buddha? Is there anything left for the Buddha to do? It's pretty much their question. It's not that they're doubting his truth. It's not that they're doubting it's impossible. It's that they're questioning the abilities in light of what they want to know about the Buddha. Right? So it's like, sounds like the Bodhisattva is already a Buddha. Could that be the case? 佛复云何? They say, what is left for the Buddha to do? All right? So, okay, we're going to start right at that question. And then, what I think is fascinating is, we talked about this last week, is, first of all, there's room in Buddhism to doubt. Creative, critical thinking is welcome, modeled by the text itself, right? There's no sense of, oh, you can't ask that here, oh, how embarrassing, or somehow that the question is mean-spirited. They're hoping to catch Vajra Treasury in a gotcha. They think, oh, there's a contradiction here. No, none of that. It's like, no, they really want to know. They're really interested in hearing about the Buddha, because why? What Vajra Treasury is saying is outrageous. It's out there. These abilities that we heard about for a couple of weeks that the Bodhisattva can do are just like, oh my goodness. He's able to move worlds around, and yet the beings in the worlds, as they're being moved around, feel no harm. But they're definitely, east has become west and west has become east. And he would do that in order to teach. And the beings inside are delighted. It's like, what? And he does it, they say, 无功用行. This is effortless practice. Right? This is, it's in a realm of cause and effect that is so subtle that the Bodhisattva seems to be doing nothing, and yet worlds are flying around the cosmos here. All right. So the doubt appears, and Vajra Treasury, in order to answer them, so they ask a question. They had a doubt. They wanted to do some critical thinking to move the ball down the field, so to speak. And Vajra Treasury, in order to answer them, doesn't talk. He shows. He doesn't tell, he shows. It's show, not tell. Picture's worth 1,000 words. We heard that last week, right? So that's the response. Today, we're going to find out about a samadhi. In order to answer the bodhisattvas and the devas and the spiritual beings, the yakshas, gandharvas, kinnaras, garudas, maharagas, humans, non-humans, and the rest, they're in the assembly, the gods and the dragons, he's going to enter samadhi and show them so that they, probably because why? Even if he could explain it, they couldn't absorb it. What he could say, just, they might, like, words fail, right? Words fall short. Words don't carry it the way a picture can. So I think that's a really fascinating response. Okay, here we go. We looked at this text before, so I'm not going to read the Chinese. I'll read the new Chinese when we get there, but I just want to get us up to speed. So I'm going to read 2 passages here in English because we covered this before. Ready? Here we go. At that time, all the bodhisattvas within the assembly, along with the gods, dragons, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, 4 world-protecting kings, Shakra Devanam Indra, the god Brahma, the pure-dwelling gods, Maheshvara, and all the other gods and others, had the following thought together. If bodhisattvas can have such powers of wisdom and spiritual abilities, what about the Buddha? Then, Muna Liberation Bodhisattva, knowing what the multitudes in the assembly were thinking, asked Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva, disciple of the Buddha, everyone here, having heard of the powers of wisdom and spiritual abilities of this bodhisattva, have been snared by a net of doubts. Humane one, it would be good indeed if you, in order to cut through their doubts, showed us an example of the majesty of a bodhisattva's spiritual powers. Okay. He wants an example. Okay. Here is our first piece of text for today. Ready? This is what happens. Here we go. 使金刚藏菩萨即入一切佛国度体性三昧。入此三昧时，诸菩萨及一切大众，皆自见身在金刚藏菩萨身内。I'm sorry, I said it wrong here. 入此三昧时，诸菩萨及一切大众，皆自见身。There we go. 皆自见身在金刚藏菩萨身内，于中悉见三千大千世界所有种种庄严之事，尽欲一切说不能尽。At that time, Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva entered the samadhi of the substance and nature of Buddha's lands. As soon as he entered that samadhi, the bodhisattvas and the great assembly saw their own bodies placed within the body of Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva. In his body, they saw all the various particulars of adornment of the billion-world universe, a state that could not be entirely described even through kotis of eons. Good. We actually did cover this last time, but I wanted to get the flow of the action here. Vajra Treasury entered a samadhi. Now, we worked with that word entered last week. And to say you enter a samadhi, is there a door? Does he come through a window? Is there a gateway? Is there a lintel, a doorstep? Do you pass through liminal space into sacred space? Right? How does this work? So, we've been working recently with this translation, and the word ru, we are using enter sometimes if it's clearly spatial. From here, from outside the room, you cross over the door, the lintel, you cross over the doorway, liminal space. You enter into the other room. If it's like that, we say enter. If it's not spatial, in this case, it's existential. How do you enter the space of a samadhi? We are using different words, something like master or merge with, right? Because that ru clearly does not only mean enter. What happens when you enter a fraternity? What happens when you enter a profession? What happens when you enter the bar? The legal bar, right? Then clearly we need an expanded sense of enter. Okay, so the question is, samadhi, what happens when you ru samme? When you ru ding? Well, something, for sure, something happens. Something's different now. This samadhi has a name. It's a special samadhi. And I hope I'm not confusing people or losing your interest, but I want to try to communicate the idea that the samadhi that he enters is already inside him. He doesn't go anywhere to rule 一切佛国度体性上面, the samadhi of the substance and nature of Buddhist lands. There's no distance traveled, right? But in fact, something profound has changed. It's in him already. It's in him already. And the results of making that change are huge. Okay? This samadhi is one of a number of trances. Not a trance. It ain't a trance. It's not, we talked about that. It's not a fuzzy state. He doesn't close his eyes or bliss out. When you see him, his eyes haven't rolled back in his head, right? It's not that kind of state. That's not what samadhi is. And yet, it's not the same as ordinary waking consciousness either, right? What's the difference? The difference is how this bodhisattva has been using his 6 senses. That's what's different. What's my proof? Well, let's take a look here. First of all, I'm going to pause, hold that thought. I'm going to cover the text again. As soon as he mastered that samadhi, the bodhisattvas, this means everybody in the audience, and the Great Assembly, the rest of the non-bodhisattvas in the audience, saw their own bodies suddenly inside Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva's body. How strange is that? They saw themselves having left where they were, and now they're in somewhere else. They're in his body. Hello? Yep. Furthermore, in his body, they saw the various particulars of adornment of the billion world universe. What does that mean? Features. They saw planet Mars, right? They saw galaxies. They saw star trails. They saw asteroids and comets. This is outer space. They also saw inner space. What else is in the billion world universe? Trees, mountains. Shifu would say, 山河大地方朗物舍, right? Mountains, rivers, the planet, buildings, structures, civilization. That's all a billion world universe adornments. And so much that the state defeats words. Language falls silent. Can't say it all. All right. Got that? That's the text. Now, what's this thing about samadhi? What is it? And I want to show, I got an idea here to share with everybody. I hope this will help. It's just not that. I want that. Okay, here we are. So, make it a little bigger for everybody to enjoy here. Here we go. Okay. I want to expand a bit on samadhi. Here you go. Samadhi, Sanskrit word. Sanmei. The Chinese heard samadhi, and they transliterated the sounds. The closest thing they came up with was sanmei. They also translated. They didn't do the sound every time. They translated as ding. Ding means fixed, nailed, right? Nailed it. I nailed it. Settled. Bump. Concentrated. Sometimes. Right? Think of concentrating like that. So sometimes the Chinese Buddhists used ding when they ran into a samadhi. Here in our sutra, we had a specific samadhi all Buddha lands, body, substance, and nature samadhi. It's got a special name. So the Chinese said, okay, let's get specific. Zheng, Ding, Zheng, Shou. And here, I think, is our clue. Right, here's the word Zheng. Looks like Ding, doesn't it? It's got the same right-hand side. Zheng means correct. It means all here, all balanced, proper. I've seen Chinese use this character Ding the same way that we, growing up in America, if we had to count to 5 and we had a pencil, we would go 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines, 4 lines, slanted line. 5, complete. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slant, okay, 1 unit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 unit. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, slanted line, unit. The Chinese sometimes go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, zheng. That's the same 5 strokes of a pen, meaning present, unit, all gathered. That's what it means, proper. Notice this character zheng doesn't wiggle. It's like a pyramid on the ground. It's stable, right? So zheng. And here's ding. Here's our word. Right, correct, focus. And zheng, here it is again. Right, what? Shou. Look at that one. Shou. That means to receive, to accept, to go along with, to nod your head and go along with. But it's also the word that the Chinese used when they encountered the Buddhist concept of Vedana, of sensation and feelings, which you receive. You receive cold feelings. You receive smooth feelings, right? Zheng Shou, Zheng Ding, Zheng Shou. And I'm thinking that that is our clue to why samadhi, the word ding, is used for samadhi. It means our focus is zheng, is correct, but also we're using our senses correctly. This is the right way to feel so that we go from ordinary use of our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind to the correct samadhi method of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. Zheng Ding Zheng Shou. It's the right way to experience xi, nu, ai, ju, ai, wu, yu, happiness, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, and desire. Qi, the 7 feelings, 7 emotions. So here's a clue. This is really helpful in terms of understanding what samadhi is about. Because why? We know what it is not. It is not simply going through life, getting up, getting out of bed, dealing with today's news, with today's cup of coffee, with today's traffic, with today's work, and reacting all day long, coming home, doing what we do, going to bed. That would be a normal use of the 6 senses focused outwardly, so that as sights, sounds, smells, tastes, sensations of touch, and events, dharmas, impact our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind, we, respond and sort them out and create karma, good, bad, neutral, go on through our day. That's normal, right? Samadhi is the zheng, the focused, balanced, harmonious way of using the very same senses and bodies, but in a different way, focusing them inwardly, not being delighted, not being upset, not being happy, not being sad about the world that we meet, the world of sensations that we meet. We're using our senses differently to master samadhi. Zheng Ding Zheng Shou. So this I remember hearing this for the first time. Master Hua would say, 什么叫三昧？就是正定正受. And we would say, oh, right concentration, right reception. And we go, yeah, good. What else? Tell me something new. Missing it, not getting it, just running right by it. And I think we need to take a close look at what is zheng ding zheng shou. First of all, there's the right side of it, the correct, the balanced, the harmonious, the fixed, the settled way of focusing, meaning not scattered. The ding, zheng ding, means we're not scattered. We're doing what? Meditating. Question. Can somebody enter samadhi, master samadhi, when you're not meditating? Yeah, it's possible. There are famous monks like Yi Taishu, Yi Dashi. Yi Taishu Dashi. He was a Ming Dynasty monk who never meditated. He's famous for never meditating. He bowed, he did repentances, he left a huge legacy of writing. He must have had a writing brush in his hand all day long. He had profound samadhi, but he was not a meditator. So, what is that about? Where does meditation come from? To get the answer to that, we have to look at the next collection here. Jie Ding Hui. Jie Ding Hui. This is a place where this word samadhi pops up. Precepts, jie, moral guidelines, ethical standards, right, are my dearly beloved advisor, Dr. Nakasone, would say discipline. That's jie, discipline. Ding is step number 2, and hui is step number 3. If you had to say what is a absolutely true blue, bona fide, right on the money Buddhist formula, you're looking at it right there. Jie Ding Hui, Shila Samadhi Prajna, right? That might, some people who Shila Samadhi Prajna. Some people who have gone deeper into Buddhist practice have heard this. If you come from the Pali tradition, Sila Samadhi Panya, right? This is Pali, this is Sanskrit. Same. What do we say? Precepts, focus, wisdom. Character, concentration, insight. Another way of translating it. One leads to the other. Without the jie, there is no ding. Without the ding, there is no hui. If your goal is wisdom, you have to focus. You have to receive the senses in a different way. If you want to do that, if you want to focus and get still and quiet in samadhi, you have to focus on what you do when we're not meditating. How I live. That's the first step. Who I am as a person. What do I do with my 6 senses? Am I doing zheng shou? Am I living in a way that my senses are finding their source in my own nature? Or am I constantly scanning outside for something stimulating, something new and different, some trouble to get into, not good trouble like John Lewis, bad trouble, right? If so, samadhi is going to be elusive, harder to approach. If in everything that I do, I follow the guidelines of bestowing life and well-being, of bestowing property and ownership, of bestowing reliable relationships, of bestowing integrity in speech, and bestowing clarity of insight, the 5 basic precepts, then no matter what I do to meditate, whether I'm following Master Yi Zhi Xu Dashi, I said Yi Taishu, it's not Yi Zhi Xu Dashi, whether I'm bowing to the Buddhas, whether I'm holding mitzvot, practicing to be a mensch, following the commandments. Whatever I'm doing to practice, maybe I'm reciting a mantra, it will be easy to approach the state of correct feeling, correct sensation, of harmonious, settled, balanced focus. And then from that state of stillness, that is samadhi, wisdom will arise. We get to the third step. Okay? So, back to the one above, right? What is samadhi? Samadhi, says Shifu, Zheng Ding Zheng Shou. It's focusing correctly and also using our feelings, our sensations, the things that touch our skin, the ideas that touch our mind, the sights that touch our eyes. Because we live in a wholesome, skillful, harmless way, there's no obstructions, there's no obstacles. We sit still, our mind finds samadhi. Okay? That's what I want to, I think it's helpful to go back and look at these terms. Okay, now this is leading to dhyana samadhi, chanding. This is the way the Buddhists tell it. Now, if I am a vipassana meditator, okay, maybe I'm just brand new. I've just started out in meditation, and I don't know if I have anything to do with the Buddha. Maybe I'm not interested in the Buddha. I just want to chill. I want to find that the current pandemic is just so stressful that actually I was delighted to see that the New York Times devoted an entire article to how to meditate last week. Anybody see that? That's very cool. It just, it was like, here you go. This is what, you're ready, aren't you? Said the newspaper. I think it said we're all ready. So here's what you do. And it was a very substantial, reliable, straightforward, no nonsense. Here's how you meditate. How to meditate was the name of the article, right? And it's like, okay. And you can get tremendous benefit without having to attach a Buddhist label at all. Should you decide that you're interested in going deeper, you encounter the Buddha pretty quickly, because much of what arose to be called Buddhism came from the experience of the prince as he sat still, as he meditated, right? And became the awakened human, the Buddha, the awakened one, right? So he didn't set out to create a religion or Buddhism. He was a meditator who then everybody said, teach me what you know. He said, okay, well, I guess I need a language, I need a vocabulary to explain this. So words like dhyana samadhi came about, chanding. Okay. What's it like? Can we move into the text and talk about this special samadhi? Okay. There's generic samadhi, the second of what are called the three non-outflowing sciences or studies. Precepts, concentration, wisdom. Number two is the concentration. That's meditation and samadhi, right? But then, okay, so far so good. Let's look at the Avatamsaka Sutra. There are all these fancy uptown 75-cent samadhis, right? These are the high rolling samadhis. They have special names. Like what? Well, how about the substance and nature of Buddha lands samadhi? What happens when you do that? 又于其中见菩提树，其身周为103000大千世界，高1003000大千世界，枝叶所引， 亦复如是。成树行梁，有狮子座，座上有佛，号一切智通王。一切大众悉见其佛坐菩提树下，狮子座上种种诸相，以为庄严。假使一劫所不能尽。Inside, now they're in the Buddha's body, in the Bodhisattva's body, right? Inside it, they also saw a Bodhi tree, its circumference as large as 100,000 universes of a billion worlds, and its height that of 1,000,000 universes of a billion worlds. The shade from its branches and foliage was equally extensive. There was a lion's throne matching that tree in size, and a Buddha named King of Wisdom's Connections was seated upon the throne. Everyone in the assembly saw the Buddha adorned with all the hallmarks and seated upon the lion's throne beneath the Bodhi tree. Even through kotis of eons, one could not finish describing it. Right. Oh my goodness. So to rephrase it, the assembly had doubts. What's the Buddha like? Is there anything left for the Buddha if the Bodhisattva can do this stuff? To answer, Vajra Treasury entered Samadhi, mastered Samadhi, and said, watch. Hey, watch. He said, you want to see it? Watch. And they were transported inside his body. And they saw inside the Bodhisattva's body the worlds, the universe, multiple universes, and all the particulars in all those universes. Okay, so that's where we left off. Just now it says, what's more, there was a tree. Oh my, there was a tree, a Bodhi tree. And its circumference was huge, 100,000 universes, each containing a billion worlds. And that's how tall it was too. So big, 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 big tree. The tree of life. The tree of the world, right? The shade from its branches and foliage was extensive. How extensive? How fine was the shade of this tree? As it spread as wide as the tree itself. All right, we have a shade tree, and it's a Bodhi tree. Furthermore, next detail. This is a description from the Avatamsaka Sutra of what you see if you are next to somebody who enters this samadhi. The Vajra treasury is making this happen so that others can witness it, right? What do you see? You see a throne, a seat. A lion's throne is just a kind of seat. It's quite marvelous. We don't have one here. There's one at City of 10,000 Buddhas right in the middle of the Buddha Hall. And it's a big chair with lions carved on it. And it's grand. When somebody sits there, they are about to give the lion's roar of Dharma, right? And the throne is as big as the tree. Furthermore, there's a Buddha sitting on the throne. Furthermore, we know the name of the Buddha, King of Wisdom's Connections. What a funny title, huh? It's, take a look here. 一切大, let's see here, 悉见周的菩提世上, 种种, let's see here. Here he is, right here. His name was 一切智通王. All knowledge, tong, connects. Right? It all links. And he is the regal, the lord of, the ruler of wisdom's connections. So nothing not known. Okay? There's a Buddha on a throne under the tree. We know his name. And everyone in the assembly saw the Buddha perfectly formed, just like all Buddhas, 32 hallmarks, sitting on the lion's throne beneath the tree. If you tried to describe it, and of course you would, you'd be thinking, whoa, let me post this. Can I get a selfie with the Buddha? I want to post it onto my Instagram. Put it on Twitter right away. You wouldn't have the language to describe it. You couldn't tell it all. It's because it's alive and it's happening. Okay, let's take a look. Notice on my desktop I have a Buddha under a tree. This is a jacaranda tree. And maybe the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree wasn't a lot different. So, religions have their symbols, and certainly the cross for the Abrahamic faiths is a poignant and powerful symbol. And what it symbolizes in Christianity and Judaism, particularly Christianity, is everlasting life. And the promise that a Savior came. There is a Messiah, right? The one who came to save. And he died and was reborn. That's what the cross tells us. Right? Various iterations, the Catholic version, Protestant version, etc. So that's a symbol. And when you see it, it's powerful, right? That there's so much of the story of Buddhism, of Christianity and Islam and Judaism is wrapped up in those symbols. Of course, there are many, many more. The fish, for example, right? So Buddhism has its symbols. And the one that probably is most common is the wheel with 8 spokes. If you go to Wikipedia and they have its religion and they have the symbols across, you'll see little icons. And the Buddhist symbol is the wheel, the Dharma wheel, that the Buddha turned in the Deer Wilds Park for the first 5 monks. That's distinctly a Buddhist symbol, and it's different from others. You can differentiate it. I would like to nominate another symbol for Buddhism that would be equally distinct, equally unique, and that would be a tree with someone meditating beneath it. Definitely, that's people go, oh, right, that's the Buddha, right? Uh-huh. No, it's the reader, it's the Kindle. It's a Kindle symbol. It's the kid sitting under the tree with his Kindle reading, right? I totally like that. That Amazon.com, their product, their wonderful electronic reader, the symbol is the boy underneath a tree. But he's got his knees up, and he's absorbed in his book. So the Buddha doesn't. The Buddha is, like this. And interestingly, because I do a lot of interfaith, I have this blessing to take part in gatherings between people of different faiths. There is a moment, if we're eating a meal together, where somebody gives the blessing. And if it's a local, the MAG Interfaith Cooperation Circle here in the Gold Coast, the Multi-Faith Action Advisory Group, at the beginning of the meeting, somebody often gives a prayer. And it's fun to see what people do in the attitude of prayer. If you came from my tradition when I was a layperson living at home with my parents as a Christian, now let us pray. Immediately you bow your head like that. And that's what is expected of you. As a Buddhist, we don't bow our heads. If we bow the whole body, right? We put the prostration. But the attitude of prayer for a Buddhist is, it's our Buddha here on the desktop, right? It's like this. So I find myself reciting a mantra, wanting to keep my head up so that I'm not blocking my circulation, so that I'm 眼观鼻，鼻观口，口观心. Eyes contemplate nose, nose contemplates mouth, mouth by reciting contemplates, controls the heart. So the Buddhist attitude of prayer is right there on our screen. That's the Buddha in prayer. Interestingly, right? So I don't bow my head now, and I know, and anybody who else like me is still looking at everybody else with their heads down, is going, why aren't you bowing your head? I'll tell you why I'm not bowing my head, right? So it's very funny, right? So let us bow our head in prayer. I'm not showing any disrespect to Lord God, but this is Buddhist prayer attitude. Okay, it would be an interesting symbol of Buddhism to have a tree with a meditator under it, without his Kindle, not reading his book, but sitting in full lotus. Authentic. What I've learned by bowing the 10,000 Buddhas' repentance is that the Bodhi tree that we know is not the only Bodhi tree. Buddhas, throughout the history of Buddhism, which takes in eons upon eons upon eons of time, the tree can shift. Sometimes it's a sala tree. Sometimes it's a camphor tree. Sometimes it's a sandalwood tree. Sometimes it's a palm tree, right? This time, Shakyamuni picked the Ficus religiosa, the fig, the sacred fig tree. That's our Bodhi tree. But it's not always the same tree. It is always a tree. Why is that? It's because when a Buddha comes into the world, it's a time of blessings. It's not a time of climate change where forests are burning. Why are forest fires in California so hot, burning, and tomorrow, Sunday in Northern California is a scary time because high winds are predicted tomorrow with great dryness and heat. So there's supposed to be a major wind event tomorrow, and so PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, is cutting off power to tens of thousands of people in my neighborhood. Because why? They don't want the wires to blow down and light a single tree. Even one is too many. So tomorrow is a blackout day in Northern California because it's a wind day in Northern California. And they can't afford to have the wind blow down a wire or a tower and spark a tree. One of the reasons why California is burning as it is because there are so many dead trees in California. Why are there millions of dead trees in California? No surprise, no like sudden revelation. For years, California foresters have been saying the moisture content of the trees from the Sierras to Los Padres National Forest in Big Sur, all the way down to the bristlecone pines of Southern California, are drying out. And I read these reports. I pay attention to environmental news and have for a long time. And year by year by year, they say the drought is so severe that if moisture falls less than 5% in any given tree, that tree is dead. If a tree can preserve 5% of the moisture of a normal year, that tree can make it. It will be, impacted and it's not healthy, but it won't die. California trees have been below 5% moisture for years now. And the forestry department, California Forestries and all, have been saying we are scared because we've never seen trees this dry. Well, they died. And if you look at drone photographs of the foothills of the Sierras and on up into the Trinity Alps and on up, there's acres and acres, miles and miles of dead trees, right? So they're just waiting for a spark. And it's not sudden, it's been progressive, it's been gradual. That the drought, there's been no rain for so many years, that the trees are just gone, you know. So any kind of, like those dry lightning strikes that we had a few months back, was set off hundreds of fires in one night, in an hour. The fires are burning suddenly all over California. So, okay, trees. The Buddha comes in a time of nature's abundance. So, here he is. It's always a similar kind of story. It's usually a man who is looking for an answer to the question of mortality. In the case of our prince, Siddhartha Gautama, right, in the Shakya clan, he had so much native insight that he saw what? He saw he could have anything he wanted except long life. He suddenly realized he was going to die. Impermanence hit him with both feet. And he thought, I need to know whether it all goes away when we lie down to die. Is death inevitable? Right? Is mortality inescapable? That was his question. And it was such a burning question for him, he let everything else go in his search to answer that question. Okay, so here he is out in the woods in a time of abundant nature, green trees with plenty of moisture in the leaves and all. And what did he do? He made his home beneath a tree because it was the biggest, safest thing to sit under. That's why Buddhas wake up under trees, because they're out there with no material support except what they can find on the mountainside. And from Buddha to Buddha, the tree, the genus, the species of the tree changes. That was funny to discover. 10,000 Buddhas Repentance talks about what tree which Buddha wakes up under, right? Different trees. So, of course, here in Australia, the first Buddha is going to be born under a gum tree, right? Definitely it's going to be a gum tree Buddha, definitely. Eucalyptus. There'll be a koala, you know, holding his fur over a python will be curling around him, right? Humming to it. So, yeah. Wallabies and dingoes and wombats circling around. So, here's the symbol. These attendees at the assembly of the Buddha see Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva entering Samadhi, and they see all the features of Buddha lands, because that's the name of the Samadhi. And this is, I wonder if I can communicate this idea. These fancy Samadhis, these high dollar, big ticket Samadhis, it's not just inner Samadhi, Ruding, you know, meaning your mind is quiet and concentrated and focused. Ajahn Pasano doesn't like concentration for Samadhi, he likes focus, which I agree. This is a special Samadhi. It comes from inside. These Samadhis are there waiting to be called up. They pre-exist. It's kind of like every one of us in our nature has a library of Samadhis, but we have to create the conditions for each Samadhi to emerge. So, name a Samadhi. Sharangama. The Sharangama Samadhi. Langyan Dading. Right? Where does the Sharangama Samadhi come from? Good question. Check the Sharangama Sutra. We have the Buddha teaching Ananda, his cousin, all about that. Okay, Ananda, where does it start? Ananda is ensnared. What? He is ensorcelled. What else? Seduced by a woman of ill repute. We know who she is. She's the daughter of Matangi, She's probably may not be only human because she's got knowledge from the devas, and that's her business, is to find the best man she can find. And so she uses a mantra from the Brahma heaven, ancient mantra. She recites it. Ananda has no samadhi. Because he lacks samadhi, she gets him. She recites the mantra, he is put into a spell, into a trance, and Manjushri, Bodhisattva, right in the nick of time, says, Ananda, come with me. We're going to go talk to the Buddha. Hey, Matangi, your daughter, you come too. He brings her along too. Because why? Turns out she becomes an arhat first. Interestingly, I like that part of the story, that the woman wakes up sooner. The two of them come to the Buddha. The Buddha says, Ananda, you have not been doing your meditation. So you did not have Zheng Ding Zheng Shou. You didn't have right focus and right reception. Your receptors were turned out instead of in. So as soon as you heard the mantra, you were confused, right? So Matangi's daughter wakes up. Ananda, not yet. Why? Too head heavy, too intellectual. Ananda is famous for his erudition and his learning, but he doesn't have focus. In other words, he can't Zheng Ding Zheng Shou. He can't do it right. He can't focus. He can't turn his receiving of his sensations around at the start. The Buddha continues. He says, you need 四种清净明慧. You need the 4 unalterable aspects of purity. Basically, precepts. Teaches him the precepts. You know what you need now, Ananda? You need the mantra. Teaches him the Shurangama mantra. Oh boy. Ananda starts to get it. He starts to figure it out. Then the Buddha changes his focus and he says, okay, Manjushri, got a challenge for you. What's the best way to wake up? What's the best way to get really enlightened? Zheng de yuan tong, he says. What's the best way to realize perfect awakening and perfect connection? And so Manjushri says, let me go find out. He does some research right there in the sutra. He finds 25 beings who have already awakened, and he asks them, what did you do? What did you do? What did you do? What's the best one? I want to hear. 25 sages, one by one, tell Manjushri Bodhisattva the best way to wake up. And among them, he picks one. And he picks Guanyin Bodhisattva's Ergen Yuantong, the perfect awakening through the faculty of hearing, the ear. Use the Zheng Ding Zheng Shou, the right reception through the ear organ. That's his choice. So the Buddha says, wow, thank you very much. Excellent. Appreciate that answer. So, fan wen zi xing, xing cheng wu shang dao. You return the hearing that we have right here, your hearing faculty, right there. Fan wen, turn the hearing back until you wen zi xing, you hear your own nature. Fan wen zi xing, your nature cheng wu shang dao, realizes the highest path. So there's a samadhi right there, and it occurs in the Shurangama. Okay, so how cool is that? That's the Leng Yen Da Ding. And then, so Ananda's like, he cries. Ananda right there. He's just like, I've been wasting my time, he said. I learned lots of words, but I didn't put them into practice. Now, my cousin has been so compassionate that he actually took the time to show me where I'd gone wrong. Thank you, World Honored One, Bhagavan. It doesn't end just for students of the Shurangama for curiosity. What happens next? The Buddha's done, and he stands up and he turns around and comes right back. Sits down again, says, hey, Ananda, actually, we're not done. Because once you enter that samadhi, you still have a road to walk. That's not Buddhahood. That's getting you there. And you need to know what happens next as your nature purifies. So he talks in what's called the 50 skanda demon states, they're called. Demon states arising from the skandhas. And demon is the word there because what is it? A demon is someone who will obstruct you from success in your meditation. Demon, in this case, Mara, is called a murderer. That's what Mara, the killer. And it will kill your wisdom, your fa shen hui ming, your dharma body and wisdom life. So the Buddha compassionately teaches him how to transform each of these states that arise from within and to continue to make progress without obstacles, without obstruction, all the way to Buddhahood. So that's the Shurangama, and that's one of the samadhis. So what we're learning today is that there are special samadhis in a library, so to speak, or in a, on a hard drive, so to speak, inside all of us that we can call up when the conditions are right. In that case, those are the conditions for the Shurangama Samadhi. But the Avatamsaka, our very sutra that we're looking at, has many, many wonderful, incredible, amazing, indescribable, inconceivable states of samadhi that are uniquely Avatamsaka. One of them is the Haiyin Sanmei. Hard to translate, kind of like the ocean imprint. The ocean, like a yin, in this case, is like a chop, like a stamp, rubber stamp, boom, boom. It's the ocean imprint, Haiyin Sanmei. And it says that in order to teach the Avatamsaka, the Buddha enters the Haiyin Sanmei, the ocean imprint samadhi. And then it flows forth. The Sagara Samadhi, it's called. I was going to, I actually have more details about the, here we go, doop, samadhi, see here, there we go. Nope, wrong one. Notes, here it is. 什么是海印三昧? This is from Master Hua's Dharma talk. He says, when you are in this samadhi and speak the Dharma, all living beings appear in the samadhi. Kind of like everybody appeared in the body of Vajra Treasury, right? 一切众生为什么都现? Why do all these beings appear within the light of the Buddha? Like this. The light of the Buddha shines on, let's see, 如来的光也映照到一切众生心里边. Does the light of the Buddha shine on the minds of every living being? Yes. This is the function of the ocean imprint samadhi's psychic powers, special abilities. So all living beings appear in the samadhi, and the Buddha's light appears in the mind of all living beings. So there's this reciprocal, mutual thing going on. 佛说华严经是入海印定. When the Buddha explained the Avatamsaka Sutra, he did it from the ocean imprint samadhi. He used the ocean imprint samadhi to explain through the mouths of other beings, other bodhisattvas. 海印定就是海印三昧. So the ocean imprint samadhi is the ocean imprint samadhi, right? It's also 就是海印发光. It's also a light released from the ocean imprint. Okay, now this you can see. Look at this. This is a long Dharma talk that Master Hua gave about the ocean imprint samadhi. And what I wanted to communicate was that in the realm of the Bodhisattva, here in the Avatamsaka Sutra, there's this thing called samadhi. And it's not, we say Jie Ding Hui, Shila Samadhi Prajna. That's talking generally. The fancy samadhis are talking specifically about special abilities. And even so, it's all inside you. It's all inside me, waiting to be unlocked. If we don't create the conditions for these samadhis to emerge, they're there in theory, they're there in potential, they're like seeds in the ground that don't come up. But my goodness, if we leave the Buddha Hall here in the Gold Coast, Dharma realm, and walk down the hill past the dormitory, there's a building, a new building, right beside the new lotus pond that has these absolutely incredible lilies. Did you see them, Ben? These lilies, they're, as you go out to the parking lot, I'll point them out. They're lilies so colorful I haven't seen them before. They're red and they're big and they're lustrous and they're kind of over the top. They're so spectacular, right? And I guarantee 2 months ago, they weren't even green. There wasn't even a sprout. But the time came, and out of that ground bordering the new building, here come these lilies. Why? Springtime. The seeds were there, and they manifest in this outrageous color. But it's time. When the time comes, the seeds come out of the ground, bearing these magnificent, glorious blossoms, right? The samadhis are in our minds the very same way. When the time comes, with the right conditions, the right season, up they come. So thank you, Avatamsaka Sutra, for telling us about these states of being. And it's kind of funny to try to explain it, because what's a samadhi? You can't grab it. You can't weigh it. You can't sell it. You can't classify it. You can experience it. You can enter it. You can watch it function. But science won't help us. There's very few textbooks other than the Buddhist sutras that explain and teach these amazing states of being called samadhi. All right? Now, I wanted to share something here. Let's do this first. Before we go there, I have a song that, let's see here, gotta bring this too small, please. There we go. Called Samadhi Shoes. What's samadhi like? You walk in it. The Buddha got enlightened underneath the tree, the Bodhi tree. His mind was like a round full moon because he entered samadhi. He put on, so to speak, samadhi shoes. He put on samadhi shoes, walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Calm your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Samadhi does. It calms your body and mind, and you can't be depressed and enter samadhi. You can't be stressed out and enter samadhi. And yet, by meditating, you can lose your stress. You can lose your blues, right? So if you don't meditate, you're never going to do it. If you do it, you might be able to, through the power of samadhi, transform these states of emotion and affliction. Samadhi concentration comes from step number 1, precepts. Tame your body, mouth, and mind. Walk through samadhi's door. Put on samadhi shoes. I held my precepts purely when I was sitting in the Chan Hall, but when I walked out that Chan Hall door, I couldn't hold those rules at all. Why? Well, no discipline. But then I put on samadhi shoes, walking all the way to Buddhahood. Calm your mind and body, say goodbye. What defeats samadhi? My eyes attached to beauty. My ears love pretty sounds. When it's time to meditate, my mind turns upside down because it's not zhengding. It's not correct use, correct reception of the senses, right? Till you put on samadhi shoes, then you can walk all the way to Buddhahood. Samadhi tames my senses. I turn the light around, like Guanyin Bodhisattva, turning the hearing. My thoughts are like a gentle stream. I hear compassion sounds. And then a functional, practical verse. My parents used to bug me. I could do nothing right until they learned to meditate. Now they never get uptight. For those of us who have to leave the monastery and go back to work in the morning, or the school, or the office, I meditate each morning, and I join the marketplace. Because I wear samadhi shoes, there's a smile upon my face, because I put on samadhi shoes. Okay. You get the picture. I'm going to have to scroll a bunch here. Interrupt myself. Here we go. The Buddha got enlightened underneath a tree. His mind was like a round full moon, 'cause he entered samadhi. Put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Calm your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Oh, good. There's a break in between each verse. Samadhi concentration comes from precepts pure. Tame your body, mouth, and mind. Walk through samadhi's door. Put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Calm your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. I held my precept purely when sitting in the hall. When I walked out that Chan Hall door, I couldn't hold those rules at all, till I put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Calm your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. My eyes attached to beauty. My ears love pretty sounds. But when it's time to meditate, my mind turns upside down until I put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Tame your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. All the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Samadhi tames my senses. I turn the light around. My thoughts are like a gentle stream, and I hear compassion's sound. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes. My parents used to bug me. I could do nothing right. Bug me, that's 60s slang. You'll get right. Until they learned to meditate. Now they never get uptight. More 60s slang. Put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood. Put on samadhi shoes.
tame your mind and body. Say goodbye to the blues. On the way to Buddhahood, put on samadhi shoes. Last verse. I meditate each morning, then join the marketplace. Because I wear samadhi shoes, there's a smile upon my face. Put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Walking all the way to Buddhahood, put on samadhi shoes. Calm your mind and body, say goodbye to the blues. Walking all the way to Buddhahood, put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. Put on samadhi shoes. And there you have it. It's not for sure there's ever been a folk song about samadhi before. Okay, by golly, let's see, we have just a few minutes here, and I'm going to share some stories that I think may help us cheer up a little bit. It's hard. These are hard times, by golly. And here we go. Right there. When the living beings and the Bodhisattvas saw themselves inside the body of Vajra Treasury Bodhisattva, because it was the Buddha land substance and nature samadhi, they saw everything going on in a universe of 1 billion worlds. Nothing was missing, right? And it occurred to me, on any given day, if I'm lucky, here in the Gold Coast, living where I do in the Queensland bush of southeastern Queensland, there is so much life going on around me. You want to see what it looks like this on my desktop. This is a blessed place where many, many, many living beings live. Oh, question here. People waiting to hear the Odumbra flower details. Okay, thank you, Jin Husher. Okay. One of the things that is going on, if I just, let's say, walk to lunch, in the process of walking to lunch, I run into this character. This is a grown-up kangaroo, an adult. He is at leisure. He's at his ease, right? And here's how it works. The relationship that you set up, this is the long telephoto lens. I'm actually about 50 yards away from him. If I took 3 steps towards him and looked at his eyes, he would have to get up and move. If I walk past him and don't challenge him, he's like, that's just a person. I'm resting here. Leave me alone, right? So I'm aware of suddenly the rules to allow the kangaroo to enjoy his rest so we can coexist and I don't frighten him. And the rules are, don't look at him and don't take steps directly towards him. And he's fine. He's good. So it's like, okay, I'm in a relationship with a kangaroo. All right, that's cool. Then walking along past, what do I see? There is a bearded dragon on the rock. Right there. Check the face of the bearded dragon. He is on the rock and he doesn't want to be seen by me, so he pretends like he's invisible using his camouflage on the rock. Is there a bearded? No, I don't have the picture of him on the rock. So this is he's alert and looking at me now. He's aware of me. But prior to this, he was blending in to the rock, so he was invisible, right? So he thought, well, I saw him. And as long as I don't disturb him physically, he will just sink into the rock and use his camouflage to pretend like I'm not there. So I'm supposed to ignore him. He's like, nothing to see here, keep moving, move along, you know. And it's like the bearded dragon. This character is, you know, how many thousands, millions of years has he been living in this environment? And I am the new neighbor, right? So I walk on down the road and there's the bearded dragon. And so here we go. It is now spring and the birds are coming out of the eggs. And I am in the neighborhood with two currawongs, a mother and a father. Look at this round, chubby, disturbed bird. What's wrong with him? He is feeding two chicks in his nest. And currawong babies are huge. He is crowded out of his nest. I come down in the morning, and here he is. He hasn't been able to sleep in the nest because there's no room for him now. The babies are filling it up. So what does he do? He comes to me and gives me this look of, please feed me anything I can take to my kid, because when I get back to the nest, they're wah, 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 like that. And so I'm feeding him crackers and apples, and he's eating the lorikeet's porridge, it filling up his beak, and then he flies out and he spits it out of the beak into the babies, you know. So this is the girl. And he and I have this thing. Because he's sleeping on my rail, he's the first one there in the morning. As soon as I come down, he's there waiting. And he and I we play catch with saltine crackers. Here's the currawong. He's got saltine cracker crumbs on his beak, you'll notice, right? We play catch. And he could be the center fielder for the San Francisco Giants. He's so good at catching. I break off a cracker, toss it up in the air, and he goes up and meets it at mid-arc, and then comes down and lands on it. Check out his dinosaur feet and his pretty feathers. Currawongs have a very beautiful song, but this is the picture of the cracker catch with the currawong. And I do this every morning in my relationship with him, because he takes those crackers, he doesn't eat them himself, he flies back to the nest and brings them back up to feed his babies, so they have something to eat. Amazing relationship with a currawong. And okay, then I go into my room, and actually the bathroom, and here is this guy. This is a very healthy huntsman spider. From this leg tip to this leg tip is about 10 inches. And he is, you know, this is an intelligent being. He is watching me carefully and reacting to me. I watched him the other day clean his legs. He is very sentient and aware and thoughtful. You know, maybe I'm anthropomorphizing, but to watch him, this is not a monster. This is a unique, and many Aussie friends will say harmful, harmless, peaceful, calm, helpful, actually, spider. So what's this thing? He took up residence in my bathroom, and he's lived there for 2 months now. And sometimes I can't find him, and he's out eating, and he'll be back. My bathroom is where he wants to live. He's up on the wall, and he watches me, and I've kind of gotten used to it, being spied upon by a giant arachnid. There he is. So he's there, and there are the rules, you just let him go. And then who else do we have here? The wallaby with the zoomies, sitting on my screen-in porch the other day, and I heard, I was doing some translating, and I heard thump, 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 thump. And I looked down, and here is an adolescent teenage wallaby, small kangaroo, 1/3 the size of his grown-up mom. And he sees me, and he goes, pop, 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 off at top speed, zooming like anybody who has a cat with zoomies. I tried to describe zoomies to somebody who didn't have a cat, and they didn't know what the zoomies are. Cats have this thing where suddenly, for no reason, they will start running through the house as if the hounds of hell were behind them, you know. And they run back and run. The poor young wallaby had the zoomies, and he was zooming around through the forest, through the bush, this way and then back and then around. And his mom was there just like, okay, Junior, when you've had enough, come on back, you know. So this is not the young one, this is the mom, right? This is what a wallaby looks like. I couldn't get a picture of the kid, he was moving too fast, right? So here is a wallaby. And to see the interaction between the mother and her son. This is a swamp wallaby. Look at the intelligence in the face of this critter and the sensitivity, right? This is a chocolate swamp wallaby. So how astounding to witness adolescence. You know, we recognize in our kids, they have to run around the house a lot, especially if they're quarantined and locked in, right? Here's a wallaby. And how astonishing. And what else? This is one of the most, I have two more to share. This is one of the most interesting. Here is a king parrot. And this king parrot, first of all, you notice the color, and then the sensitivity, right? This is a very peaceful member of the bird family, and he comes for some reason at the very same time that the lorikeets come to eat. And the lorikeets have this habit of whatever food is there, it's theirs. They don't care if you keep introducing kinds of food. They want it all, even though some of it they don't eat, right? And they are belligerent and bullies. They're charming and great fun, but they're definitely aggressive and territorial. They chase the poor king parrot away. The king parrot can't sit down and eat without the lorikeets coming and chasing it away, because they want that food. All right, the king parrot waits until I show up, and he flies and lands on my arm or my shoulder and looks up at me like, help, you know. So as soon as I'm out on the deck, the king parrot comes down for me to run interference against the lorikeets so he can eat something. So I've learned that, okay, come out with a handful of seeds, he will happily eat the seeds off my palm, and the lorikeets, who are afraid of me, they're intimidated by my size, they will leave him alone until the seeds are gone. And so I'm the protector for the king parrot against the lorikeets. So it's like, okay, I'm happy to play this game, right? Because they're so pretty, they're really fun to watch. And then, of course, I feed the lorikeets their stuff, and they eat and eat and eat. So the food that the lorikeets are not supposed to eat is seeds, because it hurts their tongues. They're nectar eaters, and they have special brushes on their tongues that can pull nectar off flowers. If they eat seeds, it kind of harms their tongue. So I have to put the seeds out so that the parrots, pigeons, turkeys, and then at night the possums can eat the seed, because they all love the seeds. It's only the lorikeets that can't eat the seeds, and of course they want the seeds right away. So at night, here comes the last members of the community, the possums. Here is Polly Possum. She is a brush-tail possum, and she's on her long-suffering mother's back with her claws. You can see what the claws do to mom's fur. Polly is eating grapes. She loves grapes and pretty much anything that we can put down. Bananas, grapes, apples, leftover lorikeet cereal, and then here are the seeds that she and mom devour. And the complexity of the dynamics of the possum community is that moms raise their babies with great care until the time comes and they kick them out of the nest. It's time to go. And while they're protecting the babies, no other possum can get close. After they kick it out of the nest, their baby can't get close. So how hard it is for a mother possum, to, I'm going to share one more here because this is the photo from 2 days ago, and it's heartbreaking. I'm going to share it right now. This I saw for the first time, and just, it was astonishing, right? Here we go. All right. You've seen Polly Possum on Mother's back being, chauffeured around. She rides on the back of her mother, right? Until the time comes when she has to move the baby on, because the baby is now mature, time to fly out of the nest, right? What happens to mother after the baby goes? This does. Here is Percy, the mother, having said goodbye to her next round of babies. Look at the expression in her eyes. I mean, that is sorrow. I'm not making it up. She's unhappy. Look at her paws. She's wringing her hands because her baby has gone away, and she's thinking, I hope he's okay. Look at her fur. That is fur that has been scored by baby's claws, right? And now the baby is out on her own, and mom is like, oh my, right? I saw this last week, and it was like, oh my goodness. I so much recognize the feelings. Tell me these animals don't have feelings. No way. These are feeling beings. And the reality from a Buddhist point of view is their lives could be over in 2 minutes as soon as the python shows up, as soon as the feral cat or the fox shows up. This little bundle of fur could be a meal for the predators that prey on animals. Impermanence is the nature of all conditioned things. Oh my goodness. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody, just to say, as our Bodhisattva is looking at the particulars of a universe of 1 billion worlds all happening at once, so too here in the Queensland bush are all these realities happening simultaneously. And what a joy and a blessing for me to be able to just walk through and witness and say, oh my goodness, the dramas between these animals have been happening for millions of years. We humans are the new kids on the block, and we may not be the last ones. We may be the first ones to go. Who knows? But Northern California says, give us some of that thunder. Oh boy. It's going to be raining all week this week. So we're having lightning storms at the moment. Okay, that's my story. Jin Husher mentioned that people are waiting to hear about the Udumbara flower next week. Previews of coming attractions. Don't miss lectures next week. We'll tell you all about the Udumbara flower. We ran out of time today, but I'll have more information for you as accurate. Okay, so don't mean to tease you, but that's the way it goes, and we'll tell you about that next week. Okay, anybody with announcements today for Berkeley Monastery? Anything going on? Anything to share?
We have tomorrow regular schedule, but at 6:30 to 7:30 we have the Great Compassion Mantra Dedication of Merit. So people are welcome to join that. And also for those who know who are part of the BBM community, from 9 a.m. to probably 10 a.m. we'll have a memorial service for new members of our community.
Right.
David Navarro and also Miss Wynn.
Mrs. Wynn. Yeah.
So that will be 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. for those who wish to join. It'll be our regular BBM online Zoom link. Don't
Okay,
have that, sign up at our BBM website.
Would you repeat that one more time now, just the highlights from what time to what time?
It's the Great Compassion Mantra Dedication of Merit from 6:30 to 7:30 a.m. And then there's from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. we have a memorial service for David Navarro and Miss Nguyen.
And Mrs. Wynn. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty. That's Tam and Karen's mom. Yeah.
Oh, and also one thing is we've changed our afternoon Guanyin and Amitabha recitation to 12:30 to 1 p.m. 12:30 to 1 p.m.
Okay.
If people want to join. just know that we're only doing it in 3 minutes now.
Alrighty, that's the BBM online, the practices of the monastery that you can join online, both Zoom and YouTube. Alrighty, now, because the coronavirus is reaching new peaks, there are more people getting sick more rapidly than any time since July. And this is not only true in North America, it's true in Europe as well. Belgium, New York Times is reporting about the situation in Belgium and in Scotland and in Italy soon and Germany. It's combining with vulnerabilities brought on by flu and cold weather bringing people together inside. So this is indeed the second wave that medical professionals were warning us about is now upon us. So it's a good idea to have some sort of inner resistance and resilience, which can come from a mantra, especially one dedicated to Medicine Buddha, the Buddha of healing. So please let's learn this Medicine Buddha mantra. Use it to transfer merit. However you would like to transfer it to whomever and for what purpose, we'll use this mantra today as our vehicle for sending out the energy of Medicine Buddha's mantra, our transference wishes. We'll do it 3 times. Om Namo Bhagavate Vajra Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adyataya Asaje, asaja, samudgate swaha, Om Namo Bhagavate Asaja Guru, Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Vajra Asaje, asaje, asaja Samudgate swaha Om Namo Bhagavate Asaja Guru Vaidurya Pravarajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adyataya. Last time, here we go. Asaje, asaje, asaja Samudgate swaha. Sanskrit. We will have 3 bells now. If you care to join me in bowing to the Buddha and the Master Hua, please do. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Thanks for joining me, everybody. Experiment with samadhi on your own. See you next week.